Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. Welcome back to our second season of In My Place. This special series educates listeners on what communities like Nashville can do to prevent and end homelessness while caring for our neighbors who are still unhoused. Over the course of 9 monthly episodes, we're learning about what it feels like to access services and weave through our local homelessness and healthcare systems on the path to housing. We're discussing what services work, what resources are missing, and what ideas our guests have for improving access to help. This series was created thanks in part to support from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. So far, in our 4 episodes this season, we've talked about the first point of contact, building trust, all that paperwork someone has to do and redo, and then the waiting game. But today, it's a happy day. We get to celebrate the little moments when hard work and patience pays off and puzzle pieces start coming together. Speaking of, we have an update for you about Denny. Okay, so you might remember him from our last episode of In My Place. Denny is legally blind, and he was living in a space he could navigate and felt pretty safe in, even though he was outdoors. But he was having to move on because of some construction. Well, big things have happened. Let's listen.
The area where I was staying was going to be under construction. And it's not just where I was sleeping at night, it's actually where I could get in and out of the weather. And I was pretty stressed because I didn't know where I was going to go. And I really didn't like the areas that were left to me to sleep. I didn't think they were as safe as where I was at. And I was under a lot of stress. I couldn't focus on anything except me, and I didn't know what to do. My caseworker, Stephanie, she came and she said, there was a place she wanted to go look at. Now, we had put in 2 or 3 applications to places, but hadn't heard anything back, and actually the waiting lists were extremely long to get in these places. And she said, let's go look at this place. With me not being able to see it real well, Stephanie was kind of giving me a play-by-play on what everything looked like. And I thought, well, this is pretty good. And then the guy said, well, if you want to move in today, you can move in. And I was flabbergasted, and I think she was too, because we weren't expecting that. And so I went in within about 30 seconds, expecting to sleep Thursday night out like I normally did on a tarp and a sleeping bag, to sleeping in a queen-size bed.
Okay, so Denny got offered temporary housing through a local nonprofit called Community Care Fellowship. So he's now indoors and working on permanent housing. Listen up, though. There's one big puzzle piece Denny's still needing. He has no insurance, but the good news is it's looking like cataract surgery could restore a good portion of his sight. So if you're someone who has connections, hit us up and we're going to connect you. Now I want to welcome our guests, and we've got 3 people all working in different housing programs in Nashville. Alyssa Fernandez from the Oasis Center, Abdi Kadir Mohammed from Safe Haven Family Shelter, and Brandon Battle from The Contributor. Thank you guys all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Now, Abdi, you're the Senior Rapid Rehousing Case Manager for Safe Haven Family Shelter. What do you guys do?
We provide housing assistance to our families that are experiencing homelessness here in Middle Tennessee. And we connect them with the wraparound services to support them with their housing stability for long term.
And how do families find you? Like, how do they make their way in?
So family come through our coordinated entry list, by name list. So what happens is that they'll get referred to our program, and then a case manager will be connected to the family. So, and then the case manager will reach out to the family and start the process of like the intake process, and then get them into the program and start working towards housing.
And we've mentioned coordinated entry before on this show. Can you tell us as briefly as possible what coordinated entry is?
Yes. So coordinated entry is just a process of like the family will get connected through like either Metro Social Services or through coordinated entry hotline, where they could call or just ask for housing assistance. So when when they do that, then the family will be involved in the HMIS process, and then their name will be connected with one of the agency providers that are assisting with housing. And that's how they utilize that service through coordinated entry to get into housing through agencies.
We've also mentioned HMIS before, and so that's Homeless Management Information Systems. Did I get that?
That's correct.
Okay. And so once someone has been referred to you, they've come through coordinated entry, they've got a case manager, then what does the housing process look like?
So when the family come into our agency and they get referred to a case manager, the case manager will reach out to the family within 24 hours upon receiving the referral. Then the case manager will set up initial intake and do the paperwork with them. That process is a little bit long to compare to our housing process of application. So the case manager have the in-depth intake, which is to collect all the demographic information of the family and also like any like educational history, employment history, just to kind of like gather all the information that's needed for the family in order for them, for us to assess like, what are the needs that family need in order for us to connect them to a housing services that works for that family. Once that happens, then the case manager will send that referral to the housing specialist, and the housing specialist will do the short version of the intake, which is just gathering like, rental history, if the family had eviction in their history, or if they have a job. If they don't have income, then we know how to assess that. And then also, if they have transportation. If the family does not have transportation, you can't house them in an area where there's no public transit. So you want to be able to assess all of that and house the family in a way that is successful for them.
What else do they need to have for that initial paperwork?
Yes. So we asked the family to bring any of their legal documents that they have. That kind of helps us to kind of start the process. If they have all of their documents, that's amazing, because it's going to help us get them into housing as soon as possible. But if they don't, then, as a case manager, I will know what to focus on, like, getting the ID for the family, birth certificate for the family, all of these things. And that's the process that we go to.
How often does a family have everything they need?
Ooh, not all the time. Most of the family, either they have like their ID and a missing birth certificate, or they have their ID and Social Security and birth certificate, but then they don't have their income, which is easy to find. But when it is like Social Security, it takes some time for you to get the Social Security. But most of the time, the family is like, I would say, 8 out of 10 have.
They don't have everything.
They don't have everything. But some of them come with everything that they have, and it makes the process a lot faster.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And then from the time that someone's referred to you to when they actually walk into a home, about what length of time do you anticipate? So
this is where I actually like to be transparent with my families that I serve. I don't like to give anyone false hope because of each process could look different for each client, because of each client comes into our program have different needs. And then also they also face different challenges. Some clients, they have eviction in their record. That process could take some time because of then we have to find out how much the balance is and who it is from. Then we have to pay all of that, or maybe look for a landlord that works with that balance, or we can work with them in paying like double of rent or whatnot.
Yeah.
But for some time, if the client have all of their documents, they don't have any eviction on their record, no legal record that's holding them behind, the process of getting them into housing, I don't want to say it, but in the past we have housed a client within like a week or two.
Whoa.
But sometimes it takes forever because of they have all these barriers, and then we have to keep them in shelter in order for them to meet, to find the house that works best for them.
So it could go months or longer.
It could go months or longer, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Abdi. Now, Alyssa, you work with youth and young people over at Oasis Center, and you also oversee a rapid rehousing program. And how is it different from maybe what Abdi explained?
Sure. So rapid rehousing is rental assistance and case management services. Ours is specifically for 18 to 25 or before their 25th birthday. So that's the criteria, as the adult in the household has to be that age. And then also experiencing homelessness, And that's really about it. What's great about rapidly housing is that it comes with no preconditions. Many other housing programs require things like sobriety, employment, income, all of those things that are just barriers to making it harder. But we fall in the housing first model, and just experiencing homelessness, and the referrals do come from coordinated entry as well, and they can be enrolled into our program.
When you meet someone for the first time, where do they tend to be staying?
They experiencing homelessness, probably at a shelter. There's Nashville Launchpad we're big fans of because they also are age focused, 18 to 24. And or the rescue mission. Sometimes they're still literally experiencing homelessness out on the streets, living in cars, or just couch hopping. It's still not a stable situation.
How often do younger people tend to have all their paperwork? I would imagine it might be less than a family.
Oh, yeah, not often. And for us, for young people, it's like even less likely because, I mean, we have people that are literally 18, all they have is their school ID. They've never even had to do this process for the first time.
So no birth certificate, no social security card, no driver's license or anything.
Yeah.
They're walking in and they're saying, I'm John Doe, and you're okay.
Yeah. And we have a few that do come with some, but for the most part, that's the first thing that the case manager is thinking of is documents. From that first enrollment is how quickly we can get this.
Thank you. And Alyssa, we're talking about those moments that puzzle pieces start coming together. So you've met someone, you've been working with them, you're getting some IDs together. Does a story come to mind where you're like, oh, like you're feeling it, this is finally, I'm seeing some things come together for this young person?
We have young people that are parenting themselves. I think people kind of forget that, that it's not just single 18-year-olds, but they could have 1, 2, 3 children. So being able to get them set up with, connected to some kind of childcare resource, get them set up food stamps so they can get some kind of consistent food, or just a local program that can occupy their time, that's a safe place to be at.
Yeah.
Our win is that we have the relationship with them where they're open to that and they want to do that. Because it can just be really just depressing and anxious to be in a state of homelessness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Abdi, I'm going to ask you really quick. Did anyone come to mind as we were talking about, oh gosh, a client that you saw them get a win?
Absolutely, yes. So I have a lot. But just recently, right, like last week, I did an intake for a family of single father and a child, and he was staying in a car, and he didn't have anywhere to stay with the child, and he was telling me that he has to make up this story for the child. He's 5. He's not understanding that the fact that they are experiencing homelessness, but the father was being creative to kind of like help him not to go through trauma later on. So like just, hey, we are doing camping. They staying outside at the at Lowe's parking lot. And hey, we are, like doing camping, and the child, all he knows is like we doing camping in our car. We have a little, bed. So the first time I got connected with the family, and I was like, hey, I will set you up an intake for you, and he was vulnerable, like, very vulnerable, like open to share his story with me. And I was like, you know what, let's not delay this process and set up the intake. We set up the intake. I did the intake, and the first thing I did was like, how can I get this family back into like, a safe place? So reach out to our shelter director right away and try to find, a hotel for them. And he was just so happy. Just knowing that coming out of that stage to having a place that's safe for his child and himself. And, he don't have to worry about like the AC running out in the car and all of that. That was just a win. I mean, for the family and for myself as well as a, like advocate, just knowing that we have accomplished, that, just bringing the family to a safe environment, that's a win.
That's got to be emotional, not only for the families you're working with, but also you. Do you feel this?
Yes, because in some capacity, I can relate to this. I came from a humble background, I have experience, like not having a place to call home to having a place to call home. So I definitely can relate to this. And it's, it's just knowing that I'm not just, like an advocate for these families, but I'm working with them in their journey. Is just amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Abdi, we're going to get to some of your story in a little bit, but thank you for sharing that.
I appreciate you.
So Stephanie Hughes was one of our guests last month, and she's Denny's case manager, who we heard a clip from earlier. And we have a clip about how she feels with him getting indoors. Let's listen to that.
It's nothing but relief on my end, too. I mean, as far as, just walking with somebody and, not having a lot of answers. And then, I feel like just being in it with people, you feel, very similar relief, I think. I mean, nothing compared to what somebody experiencing that is going through, but I could physically feel like the burden fall off of his shoulders too.
I got a little emotional on Wednesday after, we had moved everything in and Stephanie was getting ready to leave, and I'm feeling that again right now. That stress just keeps falling off my shoulders, and that's a good feeling.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host today, Tasha A.F. Lemley. This is episode 5 of season 2 of In My Place, our special series focused on finding the solution to homelessness. Today, we're celebrating forward momentum. Brandon, now you're new to Nashville, but you worked with homeless people in Ohio, yeah?
Yes, I did.
And you're not only a case manager, but you have lived experience. How do you relate to both Stephanie and Denny and what you're hearing from Abdi about his clients?
Well, first of all, homelessness is just a really complicated issue. I am new here, and what I'm seeing in Nashville definitely gives me hope for the city and the opportunities here.
And so you're working with folks over at The Contributor. What is The Contributor?
So The Contributor is a lot of things. We are a local newspaper written by the unhoused in the Nashville community. But we also offer case management, housing services for rehousing and things like that. We help with Social Security and different benefits. We are kind of a one-stop shop for anyone that is kind of down on their luck and needs a pickup.
What's a win in your personal experience that happened for you?
My favorite thing about when resources come and help in someone's life is when that moment when you feel someone getting comfortable with themselves. For me personally, when I moved to Columbus, I think it was about 5 years until I fully unpacked my apartment, because after living in survival mode for so long, I, in my head, knew I was in a solid place and I didn't really have to deal with homelessness. But in the back of my mind, it could all be taken away tomorrow and I can end up right back in the same spot. And I feel like a lot of people deal with those same kind of issues. It's really hard to be surviving and just not really getting where you want to be. And then all of a sudden you feel a little bit more stable. But a lot of times it just feels like you don't know if it's going to last. So I really encourage people to try to just take a deep breath and really encourage themselves to believe. I believe in manifestation. You manifest good energy and positivity and it'll come back to you, which is something that I wasn't really practicing earlier when I was in survival mode. But as I grew older, I realized the energy that I put out there will come back to me, generally speaking. So I like to speak positivity into my clients and to myself. And I feel like watching someone get out of survival mode and unpack all of their things.
I was going to say like unpack a box or move in a piece of furniture you like, yeah.
That's like just a small victory that I've also seen clients that I've worked with struggle to unpack things. And I can relate in a way because it's literally the same thing that happened to me. Oh. So I'm like, how about every time I see you, we unpack one box? And then within 6 months, you'll have everything unpacked and you won't even really be thinking about it because we did it one at a time.
I love that. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Abdi, you grew up in a refugee camp in Africa.
Yes, ma'am.
And you came to the United States as a teenager. How long were you in some sort of limbo in your life?
So I spending 14 years in a refugee camp wasn't, easy. Just knowing that, family left their, my family left their, place to call home. And, just kind of seeking assistance from neighboring country, just, and then the neighboring country not offering anything besides, a space where a lot of people just come together just, to find hope, and there's no place to call home. You have to make your own tent, and a lot of population just living in the same space. It's not easy. Then, of course, we had the opportunity to move to United States with the help of an agency called Glencliff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and we moved to Nashville back in 2004. Then I was a teenager, and we did not have a home again. You know, we were put in a group home, which was like a temporary time frame, but it took at least almost a year for us, you know, just sharing a space with two other families. So that process was also like another limbo, like, you know, because of like, okay, you brought us to a country, you know, told us that we are moving to a better place, you know, safe environment. I see that it's safe environment, but where's our home, you know? Just knowing that the unknown was not like something that I could put a, you know, hand to, like, you know, when we'll be moving into our own home. So it was kind of like frustration.
You bring up a really good point here that sometimes as puzzle pieces are falling together or coming together, because it's a lot of work, your limbo is remaining. So you've got pieces coming together as you're making these multiple moves over a good, oh my gosh, so many years of your life. And at the same time, you're still in limbo. So I can hear, like with some of your earlier stories, that you're using those experiences when you engage with your clients or in understanding how they might be feeling.
Correct. So, like, you know, everyone has a story, right? So, like, my reasons to the way I show up for my client, it is because of the way my previous case manager, who has helped us in our process settling here in this country, has played a part in my life. So
he accidentally trained you.
Yes. So that lived experience, and then also with the help of training, professional trainings, you know, like I utilize those as a tool to help my families. And the way I show up really matters because of you are that, you know, the client's hope. You know, if you set up a appointment, make sure you met your due diligence, like, you know, show up to the appointment, you know, like meet with the person, like, you know, give them the reassurance that you show up for them, because of if he didn't play that role, like positive role in my life, then I wouldn't have not even gotten involved in, like, you know, helping others.
Right.
But now, like, he motivated me, he kind of like helped me, like helped my family apply for all these resources, because of we didn't have the resources to do that. Like, we didn't know the language to navigate all of this. So he showed up for us. So doing that for my family that I serve right now is just important to me. And then I want to make sure that I leave the same footstep to, you know, a child's life. Then tomorrow that child can bring positivity to this world. So, like, you know, it can go on. So that's how it, you know, like it played a role in my life. So the way I advocate for my client, it all thanks to the person that showed up for me during my time, and then now it's my time to show up for my clients.
Oh, thank you, Abdi. And Alyssa, when you're seeing things start coming together for younger people, so Abdi, you were a younger person when you were experiencing a lot of what you experienced. What are some extra challenges that come with being young and in transition?
Yeah, with being young, just that it might be just new for them, and they're coming without the family support that many people might have had at their age. So just that the maturity, lack of better words, to really grow and learn as far as how to navigate all of this. And they're just new to having to reach out and ask for help. They might have not had good experiences with adults in their lives, and now we're asking them to trust us. They also are still forming their community of support. And so it's a lot of that forming, and it can feel very isolating for them to just navigate all of this on their own while they're trying to build those supports.
We're talking about when those supports start coming together, but it sounds like many of the folks you guys are serving, they're not quite in housing yet. They're in various stages of temporary, permanent, starting housing, getting this process together. Any of you, some last thoughts you want to share?
What I wanted to say is that, you know, like this is a critical time for both the client and also for the professional, right? Because of everything is working, all pieces coming together, but now they don't have a time frame, because they don't know the unknown, like when they will get into housing, when things is going to work. They can see that the process is working, but it's just that tidy of, like, you know, bit of, like, you know, patience and you don't want that to run out in the client. So as a professional, I like to make sure that, I give reassurance, meet with my clients every week. So that way, and, inform them, hey, we're working with this. We have this goal to work on next week. After we get this, you do this. So they know that, things still working. Someone's still showing up.
There's always something coming.
Yes.
Every couple weeks. I can see how that can help preserve some motivation.
Yes. So just, the way you show up also matters as a professional too. Just making sure that, you're showing up for the person. And then also, I just wanted to send a message to, the families that we serve too as well, because of we ask for patience. I know patience is virtue. It's hard sometimes, especially when you are just needing to get into housing, but just that little patient, and then also provide some good communication, because of if the communication gets disconnected, sometimes it may take a week for you to get in touch with the client, and then, you lose opportunity.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you keep that communication going. If things change, I know they go through challenges. If cell phones not working or whatnot, find any source of, communication method like email, or show up at the office. Do something to get in touch with your case manager, so that way you can get that assistant if you need. So just making sure that communication continues, and then also do not lose hope. Do not lose hope, because of it, there's someone there that's showing up for you.
Thank you. Abdi Kadir, Brandon, and Alyssa, thank you so much for being here. We have to take a break, and when we come back, series producer Judith Tackett, she's going out in the field with a man and his case manager to hear what it's like when things start coming together after facing death. And stay tuned.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org. Funding for This Is Nashville comes from Burr & Foreman Law Firm, serving clients with transactional, litigation, and regulatory needs. Discovering how each client defines a win and working with them every step of the way to achieve it. Burr.com.
How long must you wait for it? How long must you pay for it? How long must you wait for it?
I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. This is episode 5 of season 2 of our special series, In My Place, a series about finding home in Nashville. Brought to you in part thanks to support from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Now, we're heading over to the village at Glencliff. We've mentioned them a few times before in this series. They're nearly the only place where someone can stay while they're also recovering from major illness. Series producer Judith Tackett spent some time there with resident Kipp Ochsner and his case manager, Jesse Call. By the way, the illness Kipp ends up being diagnosed with, after what you're going to hear is quite a wild ride, was necrotizing pancreatitis. Let's listen in.
So my name is Kipp Ochsner. I've been a professional chef for most of my adult life, completely solely dedicated to my career, and worked very, very hard to be successful at it. And I went through a separation a couple years ago. It ended up leaving me homeless, where I lived out of a motel. That was right around the time I started getting sick, and I didn't realize I was sick. I ended up totaling my car, lost my job. That's when I ended up in the Mission downtown. I lived out of the Mission for 9 months, roughly. Was able to interview and land a job where I flew to Houston to train. Started losing consciousness there. Wrecked the car there as well. I felt fine. Strangers were coming up to me and asking me, "Are you okay?" And multiple times, and I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I feel fine. Like, it's odd for a stranger to come up to you and ask you, "Are you okay?" Then I came back to Nashville after training was over, and that's when it got really bad. I started losing consciousness probably at least a dozen times, and had fallen down like concrete stairs. When I finally was able to tell myself that I had to go to the hospital, it had gotten very severe. Over the course of the next 5 months, because my vital signs were stable the entire time, they would release me, discharge me. 2 or 3 days would go by and I'd be right back in the ER. That happened about 3 or 4 times. And then that's when they finally admitted me fully. And a couple months goes by. I was 136 pounds when I met Jesse. I was skin and bone. I couldn't even walk from the bed to the bathroom without the walker. And that would exhaust me in itself. So I was in real bad shape. Even after being 5 months in the hospital, I was still in pretty rough shape when I got out. And I've been here for 7 months. So this has been about a year-long process.
Jesse, how did you meet?
Yeah, so here at the Village, we work mostly with hospitals. And so the hospital actually sent us a referral for him once they realized he was getting close to needing to be discharged and didn't have a safe place to go. But it was nice to get that referral and get to meet Kipp.
Yeah.
Still fighting off all sorts of infections. Had I gone back to the shelter, it's such an unsanitary environment. There was no way that I would have been able to keep my wounds clean, keep my drains clean, and I wouldn't have been able to make a full recovery for sure.
So you're here at the Village at Glencliff. Jesse, talk a little bit what the Village at Glencliff is and its mission.
Yeah, the Village at Glencliff is a group of tiny homes that are on the campus of a church, but it's not directly affiliated with the church. And we do what's called medical respite sheltering. So when people are in a situation where they've been in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility and they need somewhere safe to go, like a Mission wouldn't be great. Obviously, the street wouldn't be great. Case managers there at the hospitals can make referrals to us. One thing that makes us different from some of the other medical respite programs in the country is that once you move in, we don't make you move out until we have somewhere for you to go. So it's not just till you get better or just till you stabilize. We actually try to keep you until you're permanently housed.
I had no clue what this place was. I didn't know where I was going. I was excited that I had a place to go.
What are some of the services you got here?
One of the biggest things is they make sure that you're on top of your medications. They make sure you're on top of your refills, doctor's appointments, help you with food stamps and housing and getting that all organized, health insurance, many, many other things. But when you don't have to worry about all that paperwork and all that stress is taken off of your shoulders, it helps you focus on actually healing and getting better. So
Pieces are coming together. You see housing at the end. And what did it take to get to that?
It's a drawn out process. You want it to happen overnight, and so it does take some time. And so that anxiousness of you're going to have your own place soon, you just don't know what that timeline is. And so there's a lot of anxiety and anxiousness when it comes to that. But there's also the level of excitement. For the first time in 2 years, I'm going to have a place that I can actually call my own, and it's just overwhelming joy and excitement that you feel for it.
It's weird because we're housing focused from the start, even though the most primary need is the medical need. So we try to balance that out. So one of the first things I did actually when Kipp got here, which probably caught him off guard, was I asked him information about his parents and where he was born, because I needed to get a birth certificate for him, right? Because there's certain documents that you need to get permanent housing, and that's one of them. And so we start that process right away as soon as people move in so that we can make them what I call housing document ready to move into subsidized housing. So that's kind of how we blend that together. And then we went through the process. Getting a voucher, as you know, takes a long time in Nashville. Even though Kipp did find employment later after he got here, it's still not enough to afford a place in Nashville yet. And so the subsidy is really the key that helps him be able to move to the next step.
And to piggyback off that, to tell you the truth, I was able to get a part-time job. That's why I was able to build up strength and my muscles back up again and just build my body back up. And I'm still only able to work about 25 hours a week. Any more than that, that's kind of my max right now. And from what my physicians and specialists tell me, it could be up to another year before I make a complete 100% recovery. If I don't within that 1 year, then they're going to talk about doing some major surgeries and stuff like that. So it's a long process, but nonetheless, it's going to be a long, it's even after I get my own housing, it's still going to be another year, so at least. At that point, I'll have probably built up enough strength to have a full-time job, and I can go back to being a salaried chef again. There's no way it would have happened without the Village.
Yeah.
And that's how it works. We say permanent housing, but what we mean is a place that can be your permanent home. And then obviously everyone has goals down the road of what they want their ideal housing to be, right? And so it's good to hear Kipp talking about that and planning for that. When he first got here, we was worried about where he would go as soon as he got out of the hospital, and to be able to think forward a few years about where you want to be is just really good to hear.
And when do you think you can move in?
Yeah, so, everything moves slowly, especially when the government is involved. So the first step was to get him a voucher. So we had to wait a while for that to happen. He got approved for the voucher, and then he had an interest already in an apartment that's close by to here. And he's been approved there now, too. And so those two steps are in the way. But then the housing authority also has to do an approval and an inspection. And so that's what we're waiting on right now. Normally it takes about a month from when you finally get approved at a unit until you're able to move in.
My job is right down the street at the Kroger. My apartment is just down the street in the opposite direction, and in the middle will be this place, the Village. And I'm going to volunteer my time on my days off to help out. That's the biggest thing I'm excited about, is to be able to give back in just some small way.
How is your thinking changing once things are actually, that cycle of in and out of shelter hospital is broken?
It's the biggest breath of fresh air you've ever experienced in your life. That sense of relief where you don't have to stress about where am I going to be in a month? Where am I going to be in 3 months? Now you have like Jesse was just saying, you're able to plan and for the future and work toward that future. So there's a lot of anxiety and nervousness when it comes to realizing that you'll be on your own. You're going to be in your own place, and you won't have all these caregivers and case managers and volunteers and everybody that makes this place as beautiful as it is. Realizing that you're going to be on your own and you have to do it by yourself now. That has become another major focus of mine, is what does that look like, and how am I going to do it on my own? And so, and balancing my budget and figuring all that stuff out. What's my budget going to be? I now have to pay attention to how much I run my AC and things like that. So living within a limited budget has also been has been on the forefront of my mind, for sure.
How do you prepare folks like Kipp?
Yeah, so there's a few things that we do. We do have some community classes and activities that we have here while people stay with us. They're optional usually, but Kipp's taking advantage of most of them, that can focus on some of the skills that you might need for those things. We continue to provide support to people once they move out. So we're in a program called Shelter Plus Care, and we're the Plus Care part of that. And so for the next few years, as long as you're staying there, we'll be able to follow up with you, make sure you don't miss recertifications, if you run into a problem, if you can't pay your rent. Those kind of things will be available for, or if you just, are struggling with anything, you can call us.
I've been thinking a lot about this. The easiest way to say that is, on paper, the manifest function is the shelter and all that stuff. It heals you. It's not just the physical healing. It heals you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. And it just heals you as a person, as a whole. So you're not just saving a life, you're changing a life. And to me, just one person, if you could do that for just one person, it makes all this worthwhile.
Well, thank you so much, Jesse, and then especially Kipp, for being here and opening your door and your home here for us. So that was really a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure.
We have to take just one more quick break. And when we return, we're going to talk to a puzzle collector and give you some tips on how you can be a piece. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
In my place were lines I couldn't change, and I was lost.
I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. And this is episode 5 of season 2 of our special series, In My Place. You guys, we are halfway through our second season, and we're already getting to housing. But yeah, there's so much more to come after someone starts getting those keys. And we've got here with us today Linda Bailey from The Contributor to talk about resources and how you can plug into them. Linda, so you're the co-editor of The Contributor.
Yes.
Okay. And full disclosure, I'm a co-founder and was the first executive director of The Contributor. So we heard some from Brandon earlier. He's another one of your employees. Is there anything you want to add about how The Contributor model works?
The Contributor is a street newspaper that is sold by people experiencing homelessness or who have experienced that in the past. They buy it from us for 50 cents and sell it on the street for $2 plus tips. And then in the last 5 or so years, we've really been expanding what other resources we offer people. It's been a natural community space for people experiencing homelessness to gather, and we were seeing a lot of needs. So we also provide housing services. We have a SOAR team that does disability, and then kind of everything in between.
So SOAR, we've mentioned them in other episodes before. That is SSI, SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. And it can help people access income and possibly health insurance. Thinking about your original model about the street newspaper, how do people help when they buy a paper?
You help when you buy a paper because you are providing income to someone who needs income to survive, like basically we all do. You're also learning about issues that affect people experiencing homelessness, because I'm assuming that you're reading the paper after you're buying it. And then you're also helping create community. I've seen so many vendors who have great relationships with their customers and feel more part of something after starting to sell the paper and having regular people that they're interacting with and learning about each other, really. And so you're being a part of that too.
I think one thing I noticed early on when The Contributor started in 2007 and started really growing a couple of years later was the actual thing in a way that was being sold felt like it wasn't so much the paper itself, but it was that interaction that you're describing between people. People were really hungry for that interaction with, with someone who maybe they haven't had the opportunity to engage with before, who's experiencing homelessness. And because of that, often people thought, hey, well, if I pay but don't take the paper, I'm actually helping the person more. Is that the case? Should community members take the paper? What difference does it make if you take it or leave it?
Community members should take the paper. It is, I think, more of an affirming interaction between people. Maybe you could use the word dignified. So you are paying for something that is being handed to you. Also, our vendors have sales goals, and when they sell so many papers, they get different kickbacks and rewards in that way. So it also helps them to grow their business.
Take the paper, read the paper.
Yes.
Another one of your projects is a community resource guide called Where to Turn in Nashville. What is this?
Where to Turn in Nashville is a pocket-sized guide of resources in Middle Tennessee for anyone who needs help.
And it is printed, but also online?
Yes, we do a printed version every year, and then that is updated once per year. And then we have an online version of the guide that's updated throughout the year with any changes.
About how many resources do you have in there? Do you have any idea?
I think we have around 200, I would say.
Okay. And how is the booklet best used by somebody?
In the most basic sense, it can be handed to a person who needs services or things that you're not able to provide. I would say the best way to use it, though, is to sit down with a person who is looking for resources and needs something and go through it with them. So I've heard from a lot of outreach workers, and I myself have sat down with people who need specific services and marked pages in the book with them, or sat with them as we made a call to someone to see if they could answer a question that they had. So really just using it together, I think, is super helpful to the person trying to get the services. There's a lot of services in the resource guide that are smaller, have less of a footprint in Nashville, but still are doing amazing, really necessary work for people. So the book is our version of saying these are the ones that we're pointing people to. These are the ones you might not have heard of. Here's a list, and that we verified that they're still open and they're still providing something.
I'm thinking that like this book and the website could also help someone who is not currently experiencing homelessness figure out where they might be pulled to volunteer or plug in the community.
Absolutely. The book is divided into 18 sections that go through different areas of resources of things that people might need to access. So if there is a specific thing that you feel strongly about or that you're extra passionate about and you want to get involved, it can be a really good starting place to see what's already out there and what's already providing a service that you can get involved in.
What would your advice be to someone who has never been involved in homelessness, maybe never even talked to a homeless person? How would someone get started volunteering, engaging?
Well, my advice would be to buy an issue of The Contributor, selfishly. It's also just such a natural way to go about having a conversation or having a hello. It provides everything you need to start an interaction. Vendors want to have an interaction with you when you're buying the paper. And then also, I think sometimes people don't realize how important a smile and a wave can be to someone, seeing someone's humanity and experiencing that with them. And then if those are maybe a little too bold for you, I think jumping into a volunteer project with other people who have already volunteered that can kind of show you the ropes is also super helpful. Hands on Nashville has a great list of places you can volunteer, both with a group or individually. So maybe you get a group of friends together and you all go do something in an environment where you can meet people and just start talking. So we have volunteer opportunities Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And would someone need to do 10 to 3 to plug into one of those days?
That's going to be the most convenient for us, but we also have shifts from either 10 to 12 or 12 to 3.
Okay. And then what are some other ways people can help if they're meeting someone who's homeless? Sometimes water, socks, and crackers, that can feel a bit hopeless to me. I mean, I think those are good things to do. Do you have any other ideas?
Yeah. Like I said before, again, I think a smile and a wave and looking someone in the eyes goes a long way just emotionally for people. I also think a lot of organizations will recommend giving gift cards if you don't want to give cash. That can let people go inside of a space, especially during extreme weather on either end, because a lot of the spaces people can go inside require money. So that can take that barrier down.
Also, cool thing about gift cards is even McDonald's, they have Wi-Fi. So
Yes.
someone could come in, get out of the elements, get something to eat, and be working on some of this paperwork and connective activities that we've been talking about during this series.
Yes, or use the restroom, which is another huge barrier for people.
What about giving cash?
I am of the mind that if you have cash to give and want to give cash, you should give cash.
Well, my mentor, author Lee Stringer, says, "It never occurred to me that giving someone $1 gave me moral authority over their life." So go look up Grand Central Winter, you guys. Changed my life. Last thing before we go, say someone's listening in and they want to get some printed copies of this lovely Lavender Where to Turn in Nashville resource guide. What should they do?
They can come by the Contributor office, which is in the downtown Presbyterian Church on 154 Rep. John Lewis Way. Between the hours of 10 and 3 on Monday through Friday. They can also email me at wttin@thecontributor.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions or get them anything they need.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. This housing series, In My Place, was created thanks in part to support from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Next month, we'll talk about roadblocks that pop up unexpectedly on the road home, so tune in. Our cover of In My Place by Coldplay is courtesy of Vane Melter. Today's episode was produced and directed by Judith Tackett. Our board operator is Liv Lombardi. Listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get your podcasts. The conversation doesn't end here. You can comment and tell us what you want to hear on the show by leaving us a message at 615-751-2500. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Instagram and X at This Is Nashville. I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and This Is Nashville. We love you. Keep going, you guys.